power bill through the roof? At 320 Solar, that power bill will be no more. In fact, about 90% of our customers report lower solar payments than with electricity. That's more power in your pocket. 320 Solar. Power up. Going solar with 320 may cost you nothing down. But the work we do is not a $0 job. With a 10-year roof penetration warranty and solar panels guaranteed for 25 years, you can have peace of mind knowing we will do the job right every time without question. Solar. Power up.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another session of Sports Talk 49 live on BucsReport.com. That is powered by 320solar.com. Go check out 320 Solar at 320solar.com and put the power back into your pocket by saving your money on your electric bill by owning your power. Get up with Frank Ammons or get one of the Bucs Report members, myself, Peter Blaker, or anybody else here of Bucs Report, and we'll connect you with the people you need to connect with. Just go to 320solar.com. Also, make sure to check out Fast Track Cannabis Clinics of America. Is the nation's largest medical marijuana doctors network with over 2,500 state licensed doctors in all 32 states. Marijuana is legal. Also, check out mycannabiscard.com. It effectively links new patients with closest state licensed medical marijuana doctors near them, with also saving them 30% on evaluation costs. Just mention myself, Bucs Report, or any of the guys. Also, last but definitely not least, where we are usually every Sunday for any home or away games at the Deck Bar and Grill at Isla del Sol in St. Pete area with Cedric Robinson and the gang out there. Great experience, great food, great deals. Just get out there and enjoy. Well, not with just Buccaneers fans. It's fans from all over because, Tampa is a big melting pot of people everywhere. And last but not least, let me give a special shout out to all the other great shows here on Bucs Report. Not going to go through all of them, but we'll just go through what the Mondays were. You had Ask Me Anything with Nick Citros. That was at 12:30 on Twitter. Myself at 3 p.m. And, of course, you got Peter Blake and the Sports Web wrapping it up for tonight. We will also discuss and have Ron Butler from Agency One Sports, Lavonte David's agent, and we're going to talk about contracts and things like that, and Lavonte David and how he's dealt with things like that. We'll be on a little later, along with Allison Koehler Koehler from USA Today Steelers Wire, talk about what's going around, around the NFL with her, and answer you guys' questions in the comment sections. We'll have the tweet of the week, who makes the milk carton this week on my milk carton, who was missing, and the breaking point and my perspective. They're both going 1 today, so you get a dual treat today. And of course, we'll talk Buccaneers post game, and we'll talk about the Bucs trading for a defensive tackle, Steve Mclendon. A lot to go on today. Appreciate you guys checking it out. And yes, Misador key stat is 0. And 0, we'll talk about that later. But first and foremost, today is Monday. Today is Victory Monday. And I had to have something special for you guys for Victory Monday. Check this out.
I will shield you from the pain, from thunder and the rain. My strength will never change, and my love will never fade away. We could be like fire. No one could put us out, we burn so bright, and they will compromise just to feel the energy of our life. Yeah, we could burn like fire, 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 fire. Yeah, we could burn like fire, 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 fire. What you waiting for? What you waiting for? What you waiting for? What you waiting for?
Victory Monday, there it is, and a special congratulations out to the Tampa Bay Rays making the World Series. Frank, what's going on, Frank? Yes, it's Victory Monday. Buccaneers get a big win over the Green Bay Packers that were talking a lot of smack coming into Sunday on the field and on Twitter. So very interesting to see all that go the way it turned out. Aaron Rodgers decides he wants to do a celebration from the Key and Peele show. You guys know what I'm talking about, or what celebration I'm talking about. I just thought it was just so disrespectful for Aaron Rodgers to do something like that. Like, I expect stuff like that from a wide receiver and people like that. But a quarterback who's over in his 30s, and you want to make a celebration like that. I just thought it was a little disrespectful. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll be more than happy to show you. Let me give me 1 second right here. Mr. Aaron Rodgers decides he wants to give a celebration here, kind of turn the tables on. Turn the tables on what happened in that game after going down 10-0 early. I mean, even in all that, they went down 10 early. It only had 3 offensive plays the first quarter. I almost said period, thinking about hockey. First quarter, because they only went 3 and out, and the Packers pretty much owned the ball the whole first quarter. It's something they probably game plan for and things like that. But unfortunately, it didn't pan out well for them. The team responded and the team reacted, and they had a game plan, and they executed. It was a great game plan. They came through and dominated the game in every aspect that there is to be dominated by. Also, Ronald Jones come with another 100-yard game, making that 3 100-yard games. The only other person to do that since then was Doug Martin, if I'm not mistaken. Doug Martin was the last one to do that. Aaron Rodgers only went 16 for 35, 160, no touchdowns, and 2 INTs. One of those INTs being a pick 6 by Jamil Dean, who worked on his hands, obviously, and scored a touchdown. Jamal Williams, who was talking trash on Twitter about my quarterback knows what 4th down is, had 4 carries for 34 yards. A.J. Dillon got some carries, 5 for 31. And Aaron Jones, their lead back, got 10 for 15 yards. But and a touchdown that he scored earlier in the game, that one of the only touchdowns of the game. Tom Brady didn't put up a monstrous yards, but it was effective. He had 17 completions for 27 attempts, 166, but 2 touchdowns. Ronald Jones was the bell cow back today, 23 carries for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. Keyshawn Vaughn did look good in the later game with 5 carries, 42 yards, averaging 8.4 yards a carry. Blaine Gabbert came in as well. Rob Gronkowski led the receivers in that day, 5 receptions for 78 yards and a touchdown. with Chris Godwin coming back from injury with 5 receptions, 48 yards, no touchdowns. Mike Evans only had 1 reception that game. And Tyler Johnson, congratulations on scoring your first NFL touchdown. Looking forward to you doing much more, coming in, even with all the guys coming back and all that stuff. So that's awesome that you got to score your first touchdown at home in front of fans. It's just a great, great experience, and I'm glad that happened for you. See some of the comments here. Let me put the link too, in case you guys want to jump in later on before we get everybody here and the guest. There you go. Link should be posting. It was a great win. It was a great experience to see all that go down and things like that. But let me look at some of your guys' comments here. Misador, 0 penalties. Sue got lucky that it was offsetting penalties, and they got 0 penalties of the game after having 11 for a football field length on Thursday night game. Frank Ammons, what's going on? Tim Witherspoon, love it. Christopher Cole, oh my God, the Packers started being cocky. Yes, they did. And you see how that turned out for you. Don't talk. It ain't how you start. It's how you finish. Mike L., the celebration didn't age well. No, it did not. He did the turnover double take. Yes, he did. That was the funny part about it. And Sue let him know about it too, with them 2 hits on him. Professor Johnny Dean, let me get you in here while I read these comments. Johnny Dean, welcome to the show.
How's it going, boy?
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I've been scouting the opponents all day. I was watching I sent you that video, man, that Green Bay, the Cheesehead video.
Yes.
Just checking out their reactions and stuff. You're going to have to watch that, man. It's pretty cool. Those fans are talking about firing Pettin, the defensive coordinator, which makes sense because their head coach didn't hire him in the first place. He was a leftover. But
right, he's not his guy per se. Guy.
Yeah, exactly. And they're talking about getting rid of Rodgers, get rid of Rodgers, get rid of Rodgers.
Sounds like Tampa Bay last week
with
Chicago. So it's good to know that Tampa's not the only team that goes through these problems.
Yeah, the host of that show is really good. He has I can't remember the head coach's name on the Packers, but he always has him on the show and stuff. So he's pretty knowledgeable. You just check it out, dude.
I definitely will. And speaking of checking out, I know a guy that you've been huge on is Jamil Dean. Since day one, I want to put it out there. You've been like that since day one. So I felt I had to do something in tribute to you saying that. And he gets on the part of my one of my segments here, the breaking point. So I'm gonna go into that, let you see it, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. Check this out real quick. So let's talk about the first time Rodgers goes to these outs or these stops near the sideline when the Bucs come out in this formation. Anytime, I guess their game plan was to see the corners around 7 yards off, they would come up short and look for the ball on the outside somewhere. So that's somewhere in their game plan that they talked about coming into Sunday's game. And here's one example. Dean is not on the field, but Dean is watching. And he sees what kind of routes combinations they're running and what they're doing in certain situations. This right here is the second time. But this one's a little different. The Packers actually have a run call, they audible, and they check to the same thing when they see the DBs off that far, as you see above. And Rodgers sees that, checks out of the run. And there's some communication because some of the linemen are still run blocking, and only the one receiver is actually going out for a pass. But only him and Rodgers knew the play. But still, there's just something about that formation that the Bucs would come out and they would run. Last but definitely not least, third time's a charm. Jamil Dean is in. He's got Adams in front of him. As I said before, in the winning angle, clear outs for an underneath route. Rodgers should have took an underneath route, but decides to go to Adams because he sees the Bucs defenders 7 yards off. What they talked about in their game plan, it's clear that was the game plan when they seen the way they line up. They would call this. Dean anticipates this route, knows it's coming, and he actually breaks on the ball before Lavonte Adams. And here it is from the other angle, the defense's angle, looking at Rodgers the entire time. As a matter of fact, I'll just stop talking, and I'll let Jamil Dean explain exactly what he saw and why he saw it. Jamil, go ahead and take it.
I was really, when I saw the formation, then I seen how like everything started to develop. I'm like, I have to make this play because I know what's coming. And then once I saw him throw it, I was like, yeah, it's mine.
And there you have it, Johnny. I had to do that tribute for you because you've been a Jamil Dean supporter from day one, and he came out here and made you proud.
Yeah, the guy makes me. He's a hard worker. He's like Rondé Barber, man. You heard him talking where 4:30 in the morning. Bowles gets to the office, right? And at 5, Jamel Dean's the next person in the door. And they get a lot of one-on-one. So I expect great things from Jamel Dean. And it's not because of the name.
Right.
But I will claim him.
I will claim him. There's nothing wrong with claiming him. He's a local kid, not too far from here. And it's great to come out and perform at home and get a big win like that at home, along with other stars in that game, Lavonte David, Devin
that was
White.
My next one. That's what I wanted to talk about.
What, Lavonte?
You called it. You called those pick routes, man. Everybody's wondering why that Packers video I sent you, man. They're all wondering how is it that they're getting to our bunch formations and the pick routes and shit. And I was like, it was obvious, right?
Right. I mean, I kind of look at it, as a coach would look at it when I watch tape. It's so funny that when you get older, you look at things different. You look at perspectives and you try to look at things, tendencies and things to do that you didn't do as a player because you're just so worried about playing. You look at the game different. And so you just look at tendencies. But as you said, Dean's like they're late, they're early, getting extra time in and doing everything. So it's awesome to see that. And he's working his craft. So he clearly was watching the things I was watching. And you see the result of hard work and dedication and preparation to a game.
And you see who was busting up those pick routes in the middle of the field, right? LVD.
Yep, Lavonte David, as you said earlier, he's going to get those underneath routes and force that ball to go to the sideline, which they did because Aaron Rodgers clearly didn't want to test those linebackers in the middle of the field. So he decided, whatever reason, to go outside the numbers and just do a bad throw that was read well by the Jamel Dean, and it picked off. And he had another one earlier. Well, not earlier, after that one that was tipped by Carlton Davis, which was picked for his second interception of the day that nobody's talking about. Mike Edwards for his second pick of the season off of a Carlton Davis tip.
That was a great combo move. But that you just played that Jamel Dean interception. From that angle, all I could see was 20 on the back.
Yep, that's exactly. You're right. That's exactly what it looked like. Now that you mentioned that's a camera angle where you see Rondé patting himself on the back going down the sideline. You're absolutely right.
Man, that was beautiful. There's another statistic out there. Did you know that this is the first time in team history, in the franchise's history, that they've had a penalty-free game?
Yep, I saw that. I think it was only like 2 other teams. The most recent. No, not even real recent. That's happened to with 0 penalties, and they got lucky on it because Sue's penalty on Rodgers got negated.
Yep. That was pretty good. Sue was the intimidator. I gotta admit it. Rodgers came out in his press conference and was talking about that. He says from the first snap of the game, they did not get a rhythm. Even though they scored 10 points, they felt it was more luck than actually getting a score because the pass rush was disrupting the hell out of them.
And that's the key part. Sometimes everybody, and that's a good part. You brought that because I'm sure you did it for a reason. So you're a lot like me when it comes to thinking like that. You don't have to get sack numbers to get production. What do you mean? Shaq Barrett doesn't have 10 sacks this season, but all the DBs are getting interceptions. Crazy how that works out, right?
And
everybody's winning.
Absolutely.
And the whole defense is succeeding out of that. So when you're saying, where is Shaq Barrett? Where is Shaq Barrett? Why don't you ask the DBs where he is? Because they're the ones catching the interceptions. clearly the penetration is doing what it's supposed to do, because you're getting these arid passes for interceptions that are turning into points on defense. So people stop getting so caught up in numbers. The only number that should matter is the one on the scoreboard and how many points that you gave up on defense. That's the one that matters, not individual stats.
Gotten so good there, man. You had Devin White talking with Jamel Dean. You have communication all around that defense, man, and that's key. Everybody knows what everybody's doing, and they trust each other, and that is where you build a great defense at.
Absolutely, 100%.
You don't have to have superstars everywhere. As long as they're working as one piece, it's going to be successful.
Absolutely, in one piece, and then you said the key part: communication. Works dandy, don't it? You got to see a prime example of what happens with communication from last year to this year, and look at the production of the defense. And this one, defense pretty much dominated that game. Offense didn't have to do too much. These are the games that Tom Brady should be having, ones where he doesn't have to throw for almost 50 times a game to barely win a game. He should that's what he should be doing right there. Get those 2 touchdowns and let your running backs and your defense win the game. That's what you brought him here for. Now, do you need him to come and make these drives? Yes, those times will come. But every game, no, it shouldn't have to worry about. Mike Evans should be getting a break. Chris Godwin should be getting a break. These guys that are trying to get healthy, that's how you take pressure off of them.
Absolutely. And when that's not working, then you have the big calls.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right, man. I gotta go, man.
Appreciate it, Johnny. Thank you for coming on.
All right, bud.
Yep. Johnny Dean, everybody. Let's get into what else. Make sure I'm gonna check out you guys' comment. I just want to make sure I get through all my stuff before we get to Around the NFL with Allison Koehler, and get to Ron Butler from Agency One Sports, Lavonte David's agent, among many other agents. But let's get and talk to about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers trading for Jets defensive tackle Steve Mclendon. And if you don't know who he is, I'll just show a little quick clip here for you guys. And we'll talk about him a little bit. From what it seems to me, he's familiar with, of course, credit goes to JetXFactor.com. He's familiar with Todd Bowles and Todd Bowles' system. He's an interior guy, great run support, does offer some pass rushing. He'll be a rotational player. So, I mean, he's not come in. I mean, when you play defensive line, it's kind of like basketball a little bit. You got rotations. You bring him in on matchups and things like that. And the key part that I said before I started it, he's already familiar in Todd Bowles' defense. All he needs is a reminder to get in there, study his tape, get in communication with the other guys. And I'm pretty sure from his last year tape right here, he'll be just fine working with these other guys and working in tandem and communication with JPP, Devin White, Lavonte David, and all these guys. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he comes in here versus the Las Vegas Raiders and competing out there against John Gruden, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, former head coach and Super Bowl champion out here, and seeing how that goes on primetime television. So from what you're looking at here, you're going to get a good guy who's going to come in and get some rotation, and you're going to get some good reps here. Because from what I'm looking at, he gets some good solid reps. Of course, it's not going to be like this every down for him. It's going to be situational situations. The thing is that he clearly, at the 34 years of age, he still has something left in the tank. He still provides run support and pass support, just like what you want from your nose tackle. I did say he's at 34 years of age, was signed by Pittsburgh Steelers as an undrafted free agent in 2009, and he played college football at Troy. He has a career of 12.5 sacks. And he's about 6'4", 280 pounds. So it's going to be good seeing him working in unisix with this new defense and seeing where he fits in and things like that. Let me make sure to check these comments out. Don't want to ignore you guys. Hey, what's going on, Deshaun? Hey, what's your thoughts on Nelson playing inside? He looks good moving around on the line. Yeah, he gets a lot. He's not coming up with numbers, Deshaun, but he is getting penetration. He is getting pressures and things like that. And that, as I was just explaining with Johnny, that is what's important. That's what's important, is getting pressure and making the quarterback uncomfortable, just like you saw Aaron Rodgers giving up 5 sacks. Tim Weatherspoon, did anyone hear Devin White's press conference? He's still fired up from the game. I would be too. That's a big victory coming from an undefeated team that clearly didn't respect you coming into this game, and you demanded it and you took it from them and you bullied them from the start to the finish. You put the foot on the throat and you applied pressure. You didn't let up. You put the pedal to the metal and let on the gas the entire game. Great job, coaching staff. Great job, game planning, Todd Bowles. Great job. There's been a start flying around Tampa's second game in history without a penalty. Last one was December of '83 against the Lions. Yep, long time. It's a hard thing to do, especially in this league with defensive holdings and pass interference. And Carlton Davis didn't do either that game. Great job. Gary Buff, that's beautiful. Not sure what you're talking about, but I appreciate it. So we should go easy on Rodgers. Won't he be a free agent when Brady's contract expires? Plus, Green Bay hired his replacement. We'll see if he wants to come here. At that time, probably Byron Leftwich will probably be the head coach out here. Hopefully, they'll keep Todd Bowles the defensive coordinator, but only time will tell. Let me get to. I got to the breaking point, and let's go to the tweet of the week. Tweet of the week is right. Let me get that for you. Tweet of the week by John Ledyard. Bucs have no pass rush and no contain. If that keeps up, this one is over. They aren't good enough in coverage to handle Rodgers with 5 seconds to throw every play. Quote unquote, parentheses, nobody is. Interesting. That didn't age well, did it? 38-10 later. So, yeah, that was interesting. That's who that was from. So, and enjoy that tweet, buddy, because that didn't quite work out. Albert, I can read it better on here. Do they realize they just beat Green Bay Packers? I feel the coaches and the players play this team like that, they would go far in the playoffs. They played, in my opinion, hats off to the coaches and the players. Go Bucs. Yep, it was mental preparation to the game is what led to that. Preparation is what led to that. Something Arians took blame for against Chicago, saying his team wasn't prepared. Yes, the Dean pickoff was good. And last but not least, I got to go into one of my favorite segments. Who was missing on the milk carton this week? Who was missing? Who you guys got who was missing on the milk carton this week? Oh, not that. We have Aaron Rodgers, Jamal Williams, and Mike Evans. If found, please contact the NFL. Now, I know why Mike was out, still recovering, and the game was already a blowout. There's not much need to throw. But Aaron Rodgers and Jamal Williams, where did you guys go? Somebody give a call if you find him. This man's having breakfast this morning. He can't even eat because he knows these guys were missing this game. Well, at least the Packers, at least. We know where Mike Evans was, celebrating Victory Monday. That's where he was. So we'll go to a quick break here since we got through all the first half of the segments. We'll still answer your questions and everything. And we'll get to Allison, and then we'll get to Ron right after the break. So here you guys go. Hear from our sponsors, the Deck Bar and Grill at Isla del Sol. Hear from 320 Solar, and make sure to always check out My Cannabis Card and Fast Track Clinics of America. So we'll be back after this short break.
Power bill through the roof? At 320 Solar, that power bill will be no more. In fact, about 90% of our customers report lower solar payments than with electricity. That's more power in your pocket. 320 Solar. Power up. Going solar with 320 may cost you nothing down. But the work we do is not a $0 job. With a 10-year roof penetration warranty and solar panels guaranteed for 25 years, you can have peace of mind knowing we will do the job right every time without question. .320 Solar. Power up.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the second half of the Sports Talk 49 live on BucsReport.com. That's powered by 320 Solar, 320solar.com. Put the power back into your pocket. As well, check out mycannabiscard.com and Fast Track Cannabis Clinics of America. And as well, always make sure to check out the Bar and Grill at Isla del Sol, the Deck Bar and Grill, that is. Beautiful place out there, Isla del Sol near St. Pete Beach. Great experience, filled with all tons of sports fans, Buccaneers, the Steelers, the Packers, to everybody out there. It's a great area to congregate and talk among sports fans like yourself. And that's all we could ask for in these days. But one of my favorite segments on Monday, around the NFL, with Miss Allison Koehler. And there we are. We're here.
It's money, yo.
Yeah.
Say that these days? Do the kids still say that's money?
Oh yeah, they say it. You know why? You know why we loud? Because you get the money shower with that.
Oh, we didn't even plan that, people. Like, people watching right now, we didn't even plan that. We're just good like that. We just, you know what I'm saying?
He said we just vibe.
We just vibe. We got this gel thing going on. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yes, it is. So, Miss Allison, as we always start this, how was your Sunday?
Oh, it was beautiful, man. I expected it to be nerve-wracking and full of pacing. I knew I was going to get, like, my steps in, you know what I mean? And granted, I didn't sit down. I don't think I sat down once during the Steelers-Browns game. But it wasn't what I'm thankful for it, but it wasn't at all what I expected. I thought the Steelers were going to win by a field goal. It was going to come down to the final minute of the game. Just the way the Browns, you know, how they were touting themselves, you know, I just expected it to be a lot. I can't even say a lot closer. I mean, 38-7. You can't even. There's nothing to say about that other than the Steelers are awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome for any Steelers fan anywhere, and pretty depressing. Well, I wouldn't say depressing. It's pretty something to get used to as a Browns fan, because that's something they're familiar with. But yeah, Baker Mayfield was 10 for 18 and 119 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, while getting benched. And Kareem Hunt was pretty much ineffective as well, with 13 carries for 40 yards. So Cleveland's offense was pretty much shut down and dismantled by the Steelers front, something they're familiar with doing.
I will defend Baker. I have to give it to him. I have never had herdy ribs. I've never had owies in the rib area. So I don't know at all what it's like for him to go on the field and do what I can't say do what he did, because he didn't do anything, but just go out there and play. You know, just to throw a ball, I would imagine, hurts the shit out of your ribs. So
right.
I give him that. And also, I do want to say, I don't really think, and you're not the only person to say he was benched. I think a lot of outlets are writing that he was benched. Stefanski just took him out of the game because he was owie. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't want to. The Steelers broke him. They just broke him.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I don't think that, as bad as he played, I don't think that that's why he was taken out of the game. I just think why do further damage is kind of how I looked at it.
An unreachable game. I get your point.
Right.
Because the Steelers did break him both in mind and body, if he really was injured, because he was definitely seeing ghosts out on the field. The pressure was to him. He couldn't concentrate downfield. And possibly injury. So they broke him both ways. You want to break a quarterback to have him ineffective in a game, and the score shows it. It wasn't a game from the very beginning, and wasn't a game to the end. So it started with a whipping, and it ended with a whipping. So
and there was a point where I wrote in my article yesterday. There was a point where the Browns had a chance. I think they were going for it on fourth down. And if they would have converted, it was like at their 25-yard line. So I'm sorry, at the Browns, at the Steelers 25-yard line. So I think that I think that if they had converted, I think they were so close. You know what I mean? If they had converted, I think they could have scored again. You know what I mean? And maybe made it a more interesting game. But Cam Hayward and TJ Watt they crunched Kareem Hunt. So, which wasn't good for my fantasy team, by the way. If we do have a moment like a little bit later, I'll tell you about my fantasy team yesterday. So, but the Browns and the Steelers really, it wasn't the game that I expected it to be, but I'm really glad, obviously, that the Steelers are now undefeated.
Well, the Steelers they stay undefeated, as you say, for that matter.
Right. So they stay undefeated. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I really didn't think the Browns were going to be the one to dethrone them. I thought it would be interesting. So, but unfortunately for the Browns, it didn't happen. Ben Roethlisberger came out with 14 of 22, 162 and a touchdown. James Conner led the day with 20 carries and 101 yards and a touchdown. Benny Snell, Chase Claypool shows he's not just good on the air, he's good on the ground as well, with another rushing touchdown this week when I have to believe on a jet sweep, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. His second one in 2 weeks. So he's it's an article I'm working on for this week is what can't Chase Claypool do? You know what I mean? Like I almost want to see him throw the ball.
Might be next.
Yeah, it should be.
I mean, that means definitely he's kind of reminding me of he's a little bigger than him. Kind of reminding me of Hines Ward. He used to be a utility man like that, with a little mix of Antoine Randall a little bit. Antoine Randall, being a former quarterback. So we'll find out if he will throw the ball. Who knows? Our offensive coordinator there is definitely finding ways for Chase Claypool to succeed in that offense. So that's good to see that.
I mean, I think that Matt Canada is really putting his stamp on things because the offense looks a lot different this year. And as you know, and as everybody probably watching this knows, the NFL has started slowly to incorporate college schemes and college plays and things like that. And I think that the Steelers were a little bit behind in that. They really needed to kind of be brought into the mind frame that, hey, this is how things are going to be, and so we're going to have to change. And I think that was one thing. Bringing in Matt Canada really helped, because I don't know that they were prepared. Randy Fichtner, their offensive coordinator, is kind of an old school dude. You know what I mean? So I really feel like Matt Canada. I think a lot of the plays, the jet motion sweeps, things like that you see, especially with Chase Claypool involved, I think it has Matt Canada written all over it. So.
It's definitely and that's what you do as an offensive coordinator. You just find ways to keep the offense moving and getting the ball moving and things like that. Find them. I know Juju Smith-Schuster didn't really have much of a day that day, but sometimes that works out in the offense. Maybe the opposing team's game plan was to eliminate Juju Smith-Schuster out of that game because he only had 2 receptions for 6 yards, if I'm not mistaken, on 4 targets. But and ensuing Chase Claypool, led receiving with 4 receptions for 74 yards. So I mean,
he leads the team right now, which I don't think anybody would have ever even thought about. I mean, we were all Steelers fans were all like, how much are they going to use him this year? There was no offseason. I mean, there wasn't really much of a training. There were so many variables that went into him totally not playing much this year, and the fact that he went from maybe he's gonna get on the field, maybe not, to where he's at now, it's just like it's really just been amazing to see. I feel a little bit bad for Juju because, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a selfless guy, and I think that we're seeing, and not to compare him at all to Antonio Brown, because it's like comparing apples to bananas even. He's just selfless. Because right now, if this was Antonio Brown, it would be me, where me not getting the ball, where you not chase, and we haven't heard any of that. So I think he's going to hit free agency next year, and I think that this is obviously being selfless. It isn't a talent, that the player that teams are going to look for. But it's definitely a trait that when it comes to being a receiver, and not wanting the spotlight totally on him and not wanting to hog the ball. And even Ben, I mean, he's thrown the least. I haven't looked at the stats. Obviously, he only has one interception. And he's an interception thrower. I mean, don't get me wrong, 162 yards. I mean, you know what I mean? That's not, it's not a whole ton of yards there, but I just feel like there's a reason why Ben's interceptions are down. Well, probably a few reasons, but I think one of them is the fact that Antonio Brown isn't there anymore. Ben didn't play last year, so this is his first season without Antonio Brown, and he's really just getting used to that. But I think that there's a lot more benefits to not having Antonio Brown anymore. Obviously, the production, you can't. Antonio Brown was the man. So, and pretty soon, I know I'm rambling here, but week 8. So 2 more weeks, and he might be on another team very soon. So, because that's when his suspension ends. So
his 8-week suspension ends, and see how that works. Somebody said they're calling Claypool Mapletron, like Megatron, but he's from Canada. Is that a thing? Is that what you guys are writing up there? Have you heard that?
Yeah. Chase doesn't like it. He wanted to go with Air Canada, but I guess it already belongs to somebody else, some dude from Canada, obviously. But so they're calling him Mapletron because it's a combination of Megatron, which was Calvin Johnson's nickname, and since he's from Canada, Maple Leaf, all that jazz. Oh, Canada!
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, it's a cute name, but I don't think he would.
He hates it.
I don't think he would like it. It's kind of like when the Bucs had Doug Martin. They wanted to call him Muscle Hamster. I don't think anybody wants to be called anything to do with the hamster. Unfortunately, nobody.
But Chase has come out with merchandise and shit already, so that's in. It's in like Flynn, like you said earlier.
Yeah, in like Flynn. Somebody else had something here. Speaking of Antonio Brown, what is your take on Le'Veon Bell getting what he wanted to get released from the Jets, moving on to a Super Bowl contender in the Chiefs?
I'll be honest, my perspective is Le'Veon Bell is a smart ass dude. And he said, where can I go where I can get paid and then do nothing? The Jets. Awesome. Let's go to the Jets. I'm going to go to the Jets. I'm going to do absolutely nothing. I'm going to request a trade. I'm going to get it because Adam Gase is a total Nimrod. And then I'm going to go to a team that won a Super Bowl last year and could do the same this year. Smart. Like, really? And he fresh legs. I mean, and he's really going to make a big difference. I think more in the passing game than anything because Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kansas City didn't need a running back. And they have 2 of them now. So they're going to be something phenomenal, but it's going to be interesting to see, what exactly he does. I don't think he played yesterday because he's on my bench in fantasy. I don't think he scored.
And he probably had a 0 on there. I know I got roasted.
Well, he's on my bench, thankfully. But this might be a good time if we have a moment to go over my fantasy woes from yesterday.
When you do that, go over. I'm gonna give you a single shot, and I'm gonna try to get Ron out here and work out this little technical issue, so he can tell us what you got going on as far as your articles, and let us know what you got going on with your fantasy.
Okay. Yeah. So I was 5-0, just like the Steelers. And I was playing, my opponent was also 5-0. So we're the only 5-0 teams in the league facing each other. Oh my gosh. You know what I mean? Like somebody's got to lose. So I'm just looking at my phone right now. That's why I'm really sad because it was projected to be pretty close. I think I was supposed to win by maybe 3 points before the games even started. So I have Ben Roethlisberger, Jonathan Taylor, Kareem Hunt, who I just put in there because, he's Kareem Hunt, even though he was playing the Steelers. Juju Smith-Schuster, Eric Ebron. This is where Blake is going to laugh because I have 2 defenses. I have the Colts and I have the Bucs. But the Colts have been like the number 1 defense for like a million years. So between the two of them, and plus the Colts were playing Cincinnati. So I was like, they're going to sack Joe Burrow. They're going to intercept him. It's going to be a high, they're going to give me a lot of points. No, they only got me 9 points. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay is on my bench. It's on my bench, which if I would have started them, 36 points. 36 points. Thank you, Buccaneers. I mean, you guys are awesome. But it's my fault that you guys were on my bench, and I just don't think that I'm going to ever be doing that again, let me tell you. But the clincher, I have Derrick Henry. Who scored 2 touchdowns and 212 yards yesterday. And that was just rushing. So I think he had some receiving in there too. I'm losing. I am losing, even though I have Derrick Henry. And why is that? Because I had Ben Roethlisberger, who didn't do crap. I had the Colts defense, who, as we discussed, didn't do crap. So, and my opponent, he's from Cleveland, Browns fan through and through. He had Chase Claypool. He also had Pittsburgh's defense, who 2 interceptions, only 7 points against. One of the interceptions was for a touchdown. Thank you, Minkah Fitzpatrick. And as I'm watching the game yesterday, my opponent has all these Steelers players, and I'm like, I don't care at this point. I don't care if my team loses for the sake of the Steelers, because they were just racking up the points, defensively. So yeah. So right now it's 133 to 155. I'm 133. So he still has like 3 players to go. I have 1 player to go. Yeah, so I'm not going to win. It's going to be my first loss of the season, and it's really kind of very, very sad. Very sad.
That's the unfortunate of fantasy football. You never know what you're going to get when you bench somebody. I don't think anybody thought that Tampa Bay's defense would dominate in that fashion. I believe they thought they would compete, but I don't think they would be dominate in that fashion, and the way that Todd Bowles had that team prepped for that game, and they were just locked in. And again, I'll say this: I won't probably have Ron on, but I did talk to Ron about a bunch of stuff. We can get into all that and talk about contracts and things like that. So I really want to talk with Ron, with everybody watching, talking about contracts and what's going on. Well, I ain't gonna go in detail with Lavonte David's new contract and things like that, but what's going on with all that. But somebody commented, Allison, calling Le'Veon Bell Le'Veon Smart sounds like you mispronounced the word selfish. Basically, you're saying his loyalty lies with his paycheck. I mean, that could do a lot of people.
Yeah, right. So selfish and smart are two. They're 2 totally different things. Is he selfish? Hell yeah, he's selfish. I mean, what I just described is exactly what he's being the most selfish person in the whole wide world. But he's also, that's smart. I don't really know any other way to describe what he's doing. He's
selfishly smart.
He's planning for his own future, and I understand that, like, he screwed the Steelers. You know what I mean? The Steelers offered him a lot of money, but even then, it was all about the bottom line came to guarantees, and the Steelers didn't want to pay him as much guaranteed money as he wanted to get or expected to get, and that's ultimately why he left Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? Like, he lost a lot of money sitting out, but he's still got a roster bonus from the Jets, so he's rolling in it right now. And
then get to go to a already established team that doesn't really need to rely on his running ability in the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right, and he's going to be somewhere else next year, and that'll be interesting to see too. Where he ends up going. So,
because that's usually what happens. It's going to be kind of like the same thing like with Cam Newton. You go into New England Patriots team to build your own value up so you can move on to another team and get paid. With decent salary, while Le'Veon's going to do that with the Chiefs, build his value up, and then go to another team. So exactly, he'll be with another team.
Yeah, I mean he's smart. I hate him. He pisses me off, but he's smart. I'm not gonna deny that. Johnny
Dean says Le'Veon Bell didn't show much intelligence the last 3 seasons, destroying his own image.
So that's the thing. I don't think if anybody doesn't give a shit, it's Le'Veon Bell about his image. He doesn't could care less.
Him and Mr. Brown, two peas,
Right?
two peas in a pod,
Oof.
right there. It's just I just don't know what. It's just the way that team imploded over those couple of seasons. It was kind of the pot was boiling, but it didn't really boil over onto the stove until later on when that the team decided to part ways with both of these established players and on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And there were definitely Bell was a Tomlin guy. Tomlin loved Le'Veon Bell from day one. And a lot of people didn't see that at first, but he said, I remember like it was yesterday, he said, you guys haven't seen this guy run, so you'll see what I'm talking about. And sure enough, they designed plays. I think Pittsburgh used to run this zone rerun to the left, and he was just busting big runs out all the time for the Steelers on that left side of that offensive line. And just, from there kind of made himself into a star along with being one of the most pass catching backs out the backfield. So he was dual threat, all purpose back.
Yeah, he was dangerous, and I'm just really super excited about seeing what he does, because his lack of production in New York has a lot of people logically wondering if he's done, if he's washed up, if he can produce anymore. So I think that he really, if anything, image-wise, he wants to answer all of those doubters, that he still has it, and because he's got fresh legs, he could have very well just extended his career by not playing. Exactly. So he could be in the league 2 or 3 more seasons longer than if he had stayed in Pittsburgh. He would be dead right now. He would be so dead. He'd probably have some career-ending injury because Mike Tomlin just ran the wheels off of him. Bell, and finally, Tomlin is starting to come around to the fact that if you want to have a productive running back for a long time, you can't do that. You know?
Yeah, at least you got to have 2 of them.
Yeah, and Tomlin it took him so long. I mean, how long has it been that the league's has implemented running back by committee? I mean, it's been like that for years, and all the fans, including myself, I was like, dude, you need to start using 2-3 running backs, because it's just not gonna work unless you're in Tennessee. It's just not gonna work, having a bell cow lead. Sure, he's the lead. Connor is the lead dog, but he's only had like 20 average, maybe 15, 20 catches or catches a game. So, it's a lot less than what Tomlin is used to getting, out of his guys. And if he needs to come out, he'll just throw Benny Snell in there. And that's just something that is great to see. It's kind of frustrating why it took him so long, to finally come around to that. I don't even know.
Tim Witherspoon says he'll never be as good anywhere as he was in Pittsburgh! They built their system for him, and everywhere else he has to fit into someone else's system. I agree with that. Right. I agree and disagree a little bit. Who's to say that the next team doesn't build a team for him, for that style of runner, or have somebody that was on that team from that Pittsburgh coaching staff that's familiar with Le'Veon Bell to call plays. So yeah, I get exactly what Tim's saying, because everybody's game is not transparent from one team to the other. So that's why I agree and disagree with him. But I think he'll be fine in Kansas City, because like I said, there's no expectations for him. So people play well with no expectations. If you stick him somewhere like Baltimore, he would run well there. They have a manly offensive line that pushes people down. I mean, they have monstrous men on that line, especially at the tackle spot with Stanley and I always forget the right tackle's name. His father was a left tackle in the league. There's just mountains of men on that offensive line, and they could succeed somewhere in a run-heavy offense. He's like one of the last upstanding upright running backs in the league. Him and Adrian Peterson were the last 2 that are really successful at it. If you guys don't know what I mean, if you've seen the way Peterson runs and remember Bell runs, that's upright running, the way they juke back there, they sit up, they're not really hunched over. It's hard to explain, but you get what I'm saying when you watch the way they run. They're the last of them breeds that sit up. They're upright runners, and we're actually successful at it. So, I'm sure he could find a home somewhere and be successful. Will he be as successful as he was in Pittsburgh? I agree with that because that was Tomlin's guy.
Yeah. I mean, he was absolutely just like Antonio Brown. You know, you kind of wonder wherever he goes, is he still going to be the same, you know, is he still going to have the same kind of production? You know what I mean? Like, he's still going to be an athlete all around. You know, he's amazing. You can't take that away from him, even if he goes to, you know, when he goes to a different team. But it'll be interesting to see what both his and Le'Veon Bell's production ends up being. So.
Yes, Tim. We talk about, this is around the NFL. We talk about the Bucs and we talk about the Steelers.
Did you not see the intro? It's around the NFL.
We'll talk about the Bucs. We'll talk about the Bucs and we talk about that. Speaking of talking about the Bucs, I want to make sure I mention this. I have it on my link. This is a breast cancer awareness. If you go, I'll put the link out there. If you go add me on Twitter, Blake Anthony 49, or you add me on Facebook or Bucs Report. Any donations you donate to, whatever you can afford. There's no set guidelines. That's all you can afford is $1, $5. It automatically enters you in the chance to win a pink Mike Evans jersey with a pink mask at the end of the month for breast cancer awareness. The link is there. Donations go straight to breast cancer awareness. I don't like dealing with the money. Go straight to the link. Go straight to the link, and I can see your name once you donate it, and I'll put your name in the ballot for the end of the month, and I'll get your information and mail that off to you. But you will win a free pink Mike Evans jersey. Give it to your mom, wife, daughter, whoever you want to. That's none of my business. But
put it on your dog.
Wife on the side, girlfriend, whatever they got going on. That's none of my business.
Your side piece.
Yeah, whatever you want to do with it. The most important thing is just make sure to go out there and contribute to the breast cancer awareness. I thought it was a good idea to do because with the NFL being with the COVID thing, I always admired that part in the season. One, I thought some of the team's outfits looked good with pink mixed into it. In my opinion, some of it looked good with the little pink mixed into it. But I thought it was like, you know, a discredit for like some of those women listening to their stories with breast cancer awareness, and then people that you didn't know that had people that they lost to breast cancer awareness, and these women with the stories that they had to deal with to these things. And it was just astronomical that the things that some people had to go through that you have no idea what they go through. So, you know, I thought I'd try to do my best to try to bring some light back to breast cancer awareness in the month of October, being with the overhead storm cloud of COVID all year long.
Yeah, I think that they should maybe do some. It's still a couple more weeks, one more game left in October. I am sort of surprised that they didn't do more like, you know, feature stories and things, sort of like they do during the draft. I mean, obviously you don't have a lot of time during a football game, but you would think that there'd be some kind of way that they would incorporate it into the actual broadcast, you know, or say, hey, we have some feature stories over at NFL.com, you know, go check it out. Or maybe they did. I was hooting and hollering too loud to hear it. But we can go back to the Bucs because I was working, but I was also watching, and it wow, like I don't know what your prediction. Did you have do you do predictions, like score predictions on your Friday show for the game?
We do it. We just have fun with it, and then Peter does it when we do a live remote. But,
right. Was it anything close to what it ended up being?
No, I had I think it was 28-23, I believe it was. I had the Bucs winning. Like I said, I had no idea it would be that astronomical. I didn't think Aaron Rodgers would be that overwhelmed and manhandled that game. Along with that entire team, they just got the life sucked out of them from that second quarter on to the rest of the game. It's just there's just no words that could describe what happened to them out there, but just pure dominance and obliteration and embarrassment, just like the Cleveland Browns with the Steelers. It's just right. And speaking of it, Mayfield was benched or injured, whatever you want to call it. Hence was Aaron Rodgers as well with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He was taken out of the game. I didn't realize that. Wow, that's interesting.
That might have been why he didn't shake Tom Brady's hand, because I heard there was. I mean, I know he's a bit of a sore loser, Aaron Rodgers is, but I'm sure that didn't, that didn't help. Wasn't it the first pick of the year that he threw too?
Yep, first pick. First pick. He said he only had 3 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
It's no interceptions. Those a pick 6, 2 picks, back-to-back series too, and sacked 5 times that game. So a lot of firsts happened that season. So it's a wake-up call, and some teams are going to use this game tape as a recipe on Rodgers for the rest of the year. That's the part that sucks about football. When you get exposed on something, why you think I'm so good? Oh, Ron made it. Cool, perfect. I see you, Ron. I'll get you in here when you get set. I see you with the sunglasses, Ron. You're too cool for me. Hold on, Ron. Let me catch you in. Hold on, Ron. Hold on. All right, there you go, Ron. What's going on? You can leave the shades on, man.
Hey, I apologize. I had to run to a meeting real quick, so I apologize.
I figured it was something happened. I said something must have happened real quick. I know you're busy. So Ron, I'm doing good. Let's get to the introductions. Ron Butler, Agency One Sports, not just agent, CEO of Agency One Sports Group. You know I have to give you a rank. You know I was going to do it, Ron. Stop it.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Do something else, man.
Yeah, I just like to live life and have fun. And Allison is the same way. She reps USA Today, Steelers Wire. And I know she had some questions about contracts and stuff to ask you. I kind of already laid the groundwork rules for everybody to not ask you about Lavonte's new contract that's coming up. But we can, like I said, we can talk about we can talk about the previous one and how in tune you are with other agents and teams and stuff like that. Because Allison had some real concerns with Steelers extending Hayward on the defensive line that I couldn't answer for her earlier this year. If you want to give her some insight on that.
Okay. So you want to start off with that, or you want to start off with the Steelers situation, or you want to start with Lavonte? How'd you guys?
Let's go ahead and start with Lavonte because that's what everybody wants to hear. Who's watching?
Okay. Well, like Blake said, I'm Ron Butler. I've been Lavonte's agent for the last 9 years. I've worked with him very closely in terms of getting contracts and dealing with the teams and going through the draft process. I've been there since day one. Obviously, when you're going through negotiations, there's a bit of a middle ground that you're trying to find. And if you're able to find that middle ground, then obviously you'll be able to get a deal done. You're going to have, one side that feels like, hey, he should be making X, but then you're going to have my side that feels like he should be making Y. And it's up to me to kind of put the two together to make it work. Working with the Bucs organization over the last 9 years has been nothing but exceptional. Working with guys like Jason and Mike Greenberg, who's a contract guy over there, really good guys. It comes down to, how do you make a deal work? So if you go back to his original extension, the one that he's currently under, it was really about trying to find that number that we were looking for. And obviously, they had their floor and they also had their ceiling in terms of how far they were willing to go. But it was about me as an agent. It was about Lavonte as a client and as a player. Just looking at his past history in terms of what he had done up until year 3 of his career, and then looking at it from a business standpoint, saying, okay, well, how do I get my client to $10 million a year or more? So it was really about showing the team why he deserved that number. So really talking to different agents, and I believe at the time the top 3 guys were Luke Kuechly, Lavonte, and Bobby Wagner. They all got drafted in the same year. Obviously, Luke was a first-round pick. Lavonte and Bobby were both second-round picks. So you go into that negotiation thinking, hey, this is what our number is. Okay, and you talk to different agents. Let's just say, for example, I believe David Mulugeta was Bobby's agent at the time. I don't believe he's Bobby's agent on this last deal, but he was his agent at the time. And him and I had some dialogue. We discussed the deal. Figured out how to get those that group of linebackers to north of 10 million. So it wasn't very hard to get a deal done. Obviously, Lavonte and Bobby and Luke, they all played at a very high level. They just had a little bit more accolades behind their name based on their team success and what they have done, with their time in the league. But Lavonte didn't really have a bunch of accolades at the time. He had one All-Pro, he had one Pro Bowl, and that was it leading up to his his contract being done. So it was really about trying to convince the team that, hey, he should be paid as a linebacker and not just a 4-3 outside linebacker. He should be paid as a top linebacker in this game. And it was up to my client and myself to be able to show why he deserved that number and to be in that group of elite linebackers.
Absolutely. I don't know if we lost Ron there. Oh, there you go. You still hear us, Ron? Everything good?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you now.
Okay, so I had a call come through. I apologize. But it was really about showing the guys that, hey, he deserved this number as a linebacker, as an elite linebacker in this league. And the deal maybe took about, let's just call it 60 days to get done. But ultimately, we all walked away feeling very good about the deal. So that's kind of where that deal ended, and this is kind of where we are now. So not really going to too much into detail because this is still an open negotiation in terms of getting a deal done currently for a new deal. But we're all working closely to try to figure out how we make it work. Obviously, Lavonte is not 25, he's not 24, he's not 26, he's 30, but I still believe he's in the prime of his career. It's just up to us as agents, it's up to him as a player to also show the team that, hey, I got a lot left in the tank, and I'm still in my prime. So
yeah, he's proving it. He's proving his worth right now. I mean, just because age is not always just a number in the NFL, but if you can still play and prove that age is just a number, then yeah, man. I mean, he's doing it. That's for sure.
Well, that's one thing about him. He's very soft-spoken. He's not a huge rah-rah guy off the field. Obviously, when those lights come on and those chin straps get snapped up and it's time to go, he clicks it to another level. So I enjoy, not only is he my client, he's like a brother to me, a younger brother, but I love watching him play. I love everything he does for his team. I love what he does for the game. He's not a guy that's a headache to deal with. He's the pro of all pros, and I think what he's done in terms of his career is he's proven a lot of people wrong, but he's also a very high character, class thing to a wish for. So love everything about what he does, and it's about showing the team that he deserves to be paid. And I'm sure we'll try to figure out how to get something done here, and we'll go from there.
So to kill all the huge questions, to kill all the huge questions for Bucs fans. So are you confirming that you guys are actually working out a deal? Well, you just want to disclose what's going on exactly, right?
Oh yeah, we're definitely working towards that.
Right.
Lavonte is definitely working towards that. As you can tell with his play, he lets his play do the talking.
Absolutely.
But we're those guys, between Jason and Mike and Coach Arians and everybody within that organization, they love Lavonte. They want him to be here, we want him to be there, and it's really about just figuring out how to get something done. And once we get it done, our goal is to be able to retire as a Buccaneer.
And I would love to see that. Since Derrick Brooks I grew up watching Derrick Brooks. He was my favorite player. Lavonte has moved into that role now since he's coming around those great years, around when Derrick Brooks was in his older years and playing great, just like Lavonte is, and staying healthy. I think only 1 year he sustained a real injury, but otherwise than that, as far as nicks and bruises or what everybody gets all year long, he's stayed healthy, and his best ability has been his availability among his plays and his turnovers henceforth.
Henceforth.
He lets his game do the talking, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I agree. It's the turnovers, the sacks. He's proved that he's all around linebacker. And as me and you spoke earlier before, the 4-3 linebacker has kind of been obsolete now with all these. Let me specify 4-3 outside linebacker. Now with these everything is a 3-4-4-3 hybrid. Guys are called edge rushers. The position is totally changed. It's called edge rushers. It's not even called almost outside linebackers, because when you say linebackers, you're like, well, do they cover? Do they rush the passer? Do they do this? Do they do that? I mean, I'm sure he's all going to talks, as you just said before. They all play intangibles, Pro Bowls, all pros. I mean, I just have a question. Like, what really brought me to you? I knew you would probably have some good insight on this. How important is it? How important is it to you to not leave your agent in a vulnerable position, like what happened to Dak Prescott, not accepting the big deal out of Dallas? And then hence he did get the $30 million deal, but in the end, he lost the war. You got the injury, a broken ankle, I believe it was, got dislocated out of there. And now he's in a vulnerable position, because now, in my opinion, and you might have something you put in more, he's in a place to lose more money now. He has to prove again that he can play and stay healthy. Like, how important is that for you to not leave your clients in that position?
Well, I think it's a couple different things, and I can't speak on the decision that his agent advised him not to take a deal, or to take a deal or not take a deal. Mm-hmm. So I can't really speak on why he did what he did. Now, if I put myself in his shoes, I think it would probably be more about do you want to be the highest paid at the position? Because I think that's kind of what that deal came down to. Mahomes is going to be Mahomes. He's going to get top dollar. Who's number 2? Who's number 3? I think all of those things come into play when you're getting a quarterback deal done, especially for younger quarterbacks. Okay. Now, Dak had, before the injury, Dak was playing at a very high level in terms of, yards per game. Didn't have a whole lot of victories, but I think, he was on to something. But at the same time, anytime a deal doesn't get done, you're leaving a guy in a vulnerable position. Mm-hmm. I think that when he obviously he's playing under the franchise tag, so he's still making $31 million this year. Correct. So he's not, let's just say, hurting, mm-hmm. On a 1-year deal. Right. Potentially he'll be able to get back. I think Dallas would do the right thing by him. But who knows? I mean, in that scenario, that situation, you got Andy Dalton behind you. He comes back, he wins a bunch of games. Does that cause some type of situation where now the Cowboys organization are looking at it saying, hey, Dalton won a bunch of games, and it's cheaper, and it's cheaper. Okay, so do you go that route? Do you go that route? And as an agent, it's almost like we kind of have to have a crystal ball. Mm-hmm. We have to kind of see things before they actually happen. So between a deal getting done or not getting done, you fast forward to the next 6 to 12 months, and you look at it and say, okay, what potentially can happen here? Okay, and then based on that, okay, what leverage do I have to actually be able to get something done? Mm-hmm. So all of those things come into play as an agent. It's like you have to be able to step. You got to be able to see the future almost. Mm-hmm. Okay, like. Let's just say, for example, with an older player getting a contract done where he's still playing at a high level, but you also know that the team may come back and say, well, guys, he is 31 or he is 32.
Cam Hayward.
Still playing at a high level, mm-hmm. but we want to reward him, or we don't. We want to reward him, but we want to reward him at our number, what we're comfortable with. So just like your host said, it's really about how a team feels about a player. If a player like a Cam Hayward, gets what he gets at 31, 32 years old, I think it's a couple of things that go into that. Did the team want to take care of him? Okay. Did they want him to be a Steeler for life? Mm-hmm. All of those things come into play. I mean, he's making, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's like 16.2 average per year at his position at 31, 32 years old. I mean, that's to me, that's just from the Steelers standpoint, that's them doing the right thing by a guy that they feel like is their guy. Okay. And regardless whether he's 25, whether he's 26, whether he's 32, we're going to take care of our guy. We're going to reward our guy. And I believe that if Dallas, this goes back to the Dallas question, if Dallas looks at Dak, he's coming off of an injury. It's not a career-ending type injury, but you have to look at it and say, hey, do we want to do the right thing by our guy, the guy that we drafted, the guy that we were willing to pay before this injury? You got to kind of look at those things and say, from an organization, are we going to do the right thing? Or are we going to do the cheaper thing?
You know who you sound like, Ron? You sound exactly like Stephen A. Smith. I don't know if you saw that clip. I swear the whole time you were talking, I'm like, is that Stephen A? I swear he said that. And he said that, I'm not going to get into details of why he brought this up, but I'm just going to touch into it a little bit. He said the same exact thing, verbatim what you said. He said this wasn't an issue if this was Tony Romo. He said Dak Prescott put up a lot more numbers than Tony Romo, won a playoff game before Tony Romo's time, and you rewarded Tony Romo with 8-8 seasons on 3 consecutive seasons with $100 million contract, and you didn't hesitate to pull a trigger on that. So will you do the right thing or won't you? To Dak Prescott, I said you sounded just like him just there.
That's I'm just giving you my my opinion verbatim, but I just look at it and I say, this guy has he's won some games, he's put up some numbers. He was a guy that you drafted, and at the end of the day, man, if you're taking care of business, whether it's playing quarterback or playing wide receiver or you're a field goal kicker, if you're taking care of business and your team is, you're a centerpiece of that team, then my team, you got to take care of them. Take care of them. It's the right thing to do.
Let's jump in, Alice, if you have any questions. As I got I can ask Ron questions for days.
We can keep going all day.
Yeah, I have. In your opinion, and what you experience or what you can talk about, how many teams are there that really are all about keeping their guys versus finding the next best thing? In your opinion,
I mean, that's a good question, man, because this business is like musical chairs. So you can have a coach that loves a player, drafts a player, but he may be on the hot seat. Okay, if he's on the hot seat and he gets fired after that next season after he drafts that player, guess what? You got a whole new regime coming in. Okay, but guess what? That regime didn't draft you. That head coach didn't draft you. Okay, you can have a GM that, like I said, same thing as the coach that drafted you. Okay, but guess what? You guys go 0-5 the first 5 games of the season. The head coach gets fired and the GM gets fired. So guess what? Now you're in a situation where ownership has to step in when they go through and they look at their rosters and this, that, and the other, and they got to make a decision. Hey, I didn't draft this guy. I wasn't here for that. But what I'm coming in to do, he may or may not be a guy that fits with the direction that we're going in. So I think it's really based on every organization's view. It also is based on coaches and GMs coming in and coming out. But I think the guys, like, let's just say hypothetically in Tampa, they've known to kind of want to take care of their guys. They drafted their guys. I know Jason's been there a few years now. He's always kind of taking care of his guy, unless he feels like, hey, an executive decision is in order, so we need to sit down around the round table, and if this guy doesn't make sense for us long term, then we'll move on from him. But for the most part, I look at the history of, let's just say, a Tampa Bay organization. They pretty much always taking care of their guys. The New Orleans Saints, they taking care of their guys. And then you have some other organizations that I don't want to name that I've done some business with, that they may want to take care of their guys, but they may want to do it for cheap. Okay, and then my guy can go out on the market and make a boatload of money. Let's just say we can probably get 10 over here with my team that I'm currently on. We could probably get 18 over here if we go into free agency.
I'll say the name
this
for
team
you.
over here is not willing to pay. We're not willing to pay you north of 10. But if you want to go over there, you can go make 18 over there. It's cool.
I'll say the name for you, Ron. Miami.
Ron didn't say it.
Honestly, I wasn't thinking. Wait. I wasn't thinking Miami, but I'm not going to say who I was thinking, but it wasn't Miami. But it's only because I've had dealings with the organization in the past, but I know how they work.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do have a couple questions. I know that all players are different, so there's no one blanket statement, but is there a correlation between players? You know, we've seen situations where players get paid and immediately their production drops off. Not saying that they don't produce at all, but they're not as good as they were when they got paid. Can you kind of talk about it from your perspective, what that's like?
Well, I think that there might be a little bit of a misconception there. I don't think guys say, hey, you know what, I got my money, so now I don't have to give 100% effort, or I'm not going to play as hard as I used to play before I actually got paid. I think that there are different levels. You may have some guys that think that way. You know, I've already got the bag. I got the bag, so I'm going to make sure I'm not going to run as hard. Or I'm not going to, you know, before I wouldn't go out of bounds, but now I'm going out of bounds. A lot of times you have guys, especially at, let's just say, the running back position. The running back position is almost, unless you're a elite back, you know, everybody else is kind of like plug and play. You can go find a guy off the street, you know, a guy that's playing in, you know, no disrespect, a guy that's playing in the CFL or the guy that's playing in the XFL, and he can come in and he can be a plug and play guy. Now, the elite guys, you know, they have a level of, let's just say, expectations every year that we expect as fans and as owner organizations. We expect to see them perform at this high level every year. A lot of those guys are making 15 million plus, 14 million plus, but then you start to really watch them, where before, hey, I get to the outside, instead of me running out of bounds, I'm gonna lower my shoulder and run this guy over. Okay.
Right.
But you start to notice that, hey, he's not doing that anymore. And why is he not doing that? Because now you're trying to preserve your body. Now you're trying to make sure you get through the season. You see, hey, injuries are happening left and right, especially in the league right now. You have to be mindful of, you know, those small things that could turn into potential big things, like the injuries. So I have seen some guys kind of, you know, play hard, but hey, I'm gonna go out of bounds this time. I got my money already, so I want to make sure that I can, you know, preserve myself going forward. But you will, like you said, you will have some guys that, you know, they may want to slow down after they get their money, because they got their money already. They got their guaranteed money. If that answers your question.
Yeah, oh, it totally does. Yeah, I think a lot of people, like you said, you know, it's a misconception, and it does depend on, you know, what phase of their career they're in right now, and, you know, whether they want to just keep balling out or if they want to protect their bodies. And you make really, really valid points that I hadn't thought about, that it's not about the money necessarily, as it is about, you know, saving yourself for when you retire so you can still walk.
play with your kids, like
man, because these guys are young.
Andrew Luck. I damn near was in tears listening to his retirement speech, because I did not understand the level of pain he was going through, internal bleeding and all this type of stuff, and that you had no idea what was going on. And then I had to think, like what Ron said. I gotta start thinking, I got a family, I got kids, I'm only 30 years old. I got a whole life to raise these kids. I want to be able to walk.
Want to be able to walk. You got to think, when most of these guys retire, they're all beat up. Okay, they're beat up. They're going into another chapter of their life. Think about it. 30 years old, you just figured everything. You're starting to still figure everything out. It's kind of like, hey, I'm navigating here, but and I'm just talking about as a regular civilian, not as an athlete, but I'm just talking about as a regular civilian who has a regular 9-to-5 job. You're still, this is that chapter where now you kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel at 30 years old. Okay. Think about it as a football player, where all you've done is work out, prepare for the season. You know, you're not thinking about that chapter at 30. And that's why it's important, especially for guys like myself. You start having that dialogue early on, so when it's time to transition from the pros to a real, well, to regular, you know, I guess you can say working situations or whatever, to be able to help and guide that person at an early age, so when they get to that chapter, they kind of know what to walk into. They kind of know how to, how to handle things, because all they've been doing is football. So that's why you kind of coach them up. You talk about going into, different arenas, ownership, entrepreneurship, different things, helping out in the community, developing relationships while you're hot in the league. So once you're transition out, you have something to kind of fall back on. And at the same time, you're looking at it from an injury standpoint. I want to be able to walk again. I want to make sure I'm able to walk. I want to make sure I'm able to make great decisions and my head's not messed up from a bunch of concussions that I had. Like, let's look at Luke. Look at Luke Kuechly. I mean, did we see that coming?
I kind of did, because he went out a couple years with concussions, and I believe I said to my cousin, I said I think he's going to hang it up here sometime soon, because it's back-to-back seasons out for multiple weeks. That was the part that raised the alarm to me. He was out multiple weeks with concussion. I said there's more going on than what I know about, and I said he's going to start thinking about it. He got the bag already, plus his and the big bag is your endorsements, which we didn't really talk about either. We just talked about contracts, but that's a whole nother conversation. As far as endorsements, they get a lot of money from that as well, just for wearing a sneaker or wearing clothing and stuff like that. But he's got his money, and he made a life decision, as you said, Ron. You can see that light. I don't want to be like these guys that shooting themselves in the head because they're having thoughts, somebody's talking to them in their head, and all these crazy things that are going on. You're absolutely right.
And it's real. Let me tell you something. CTE is real, people. It is real. I've seen guys that 1 minute everything is fine, the next minute they're in tears. 1 minute they're fine, the next minute they're off the wall. CTE is real. I've dealt with clients where I had to tell them, like, hey, listen, you can go back and make $2 million or $3 million guaranteed. But at the same time, if you get another concussion, think about the risk that you're putting yourself in at 30 years old, 31 years old, 40, 50. Just think about those things. And you got to make a real life decision, based on just your history of dealing with injuries or concussions or whatever the case may be. So, like, playing that role in terms of an agent is not just to get contracts done. It's to be able to jump on the table with your client and say, hey, listen, it's time to hang it up. It's time to hang it up. We don't like I can make money off of you and this, that, and the other, but I would rather be able to see you,
live
live, be at your daughter's graduation, walk your daughter down the aisle, not mess up your family. And some guys will listen.
So far.
Correct. So
I think that movie about with Will Smith.
Oh yeah.
Ironically, it all started mostly in Pittsburgh. Allison, I don't know if you froze there, if you still hear us, but yeah, a lot of that started out in Pittsburgh, where all that, where that story started from, which I didn't expect. Opened my eyes a little bit.
Yeah, it took a lot. It took too many years for there to be awareness, about CTE, and still, I think the NFL can do more than what they're doing, but it's it's a scary thing. I mean, obviously, it hasn't been proven, but I think a lot of people think that, that's Antonio Brown's deal right now, because when he first came into Pittsburgh, I mean, obviously you're a little bit different, you know what I mean? When you first come into the league,
money changes you.
You're a veteran, you know what I mean? Money changes you, and money has changed Antonio Brown, but he's also had a lot of concussions. So
he's had some hits. Yeah, he's taking some hits.
I believe it was that perfect hit is when it all started. That playoff.
I agree.
It really did.
I think that was the moment when he really got a brain injury, and it was a nasty hit that he sustained. His body went limp, and he just dropped straight to the ground.
Your brain just jiggled in juice. It's like jello.
Well, the human brain's not meant for that to rattle like that. No, we're not like a woodpecker. That has a fail-safe for that thing like that.
Right.
Now, Allison, you said you had another question for Ron?
Yeah. I mean, how much, well, you know what, I'm just going to I was going to ask you about accolades and stats and how much easier it makes it to, not that negotiating a contract is easy, but, you know, how does it change your approach to contract negotiations?
I mean, it definitely helps. Number one, I think it helps because when you're looking at the elite players in this league, I believe you have different scales. I think you have elite, and then you have tier one. So elite is above tier one. Then you have your tier, you have your tier 1A and B. Then you have tier two tier A and B, tier 3, and so forth. So when you're an elite player who has Pro Bowls, who has All Pro every year consistently, even if you don't perform at a high level that year, and you're still getting All Pro and Pro Bowl accolades, it's because of your name and what you've done during that time to be able to get that recognition, where even if you don't have a great season, you can still make the Pro Bowl. Like let's take a who was it last year when we looked at their numbers, and I was baffled because they didn't even play a whole season and they still made the Pro Bowl, and they were like second team All Pro. I forgot what player it was, but it helps in terms of negotiating. It gives you a little bit more power because you know you're dealing with a top tier talent.
I can name one.
Ultimately be a game changer. You can name one?
Yep, it's Clay Matthews. He missed the entire season, made Pro Bowl, All Pro, and it scratched my head. I tried to figure it out. I just tried to figure it out. I said, so all these years I brag about, you know, people making Pro Bowls. I said, does that even really matter now? Do they count? Because he didn't play at snap the entire season, and he made Pro Bowl. And the reason why I paid attention to it, if you know me, I look at stuff like that, because Lavonte David didn't make it.
Correct.
And Clay Matthew made Pro Bowl, so
correct.
He lost a spot to a guy who didn't play it down, and which comes to Allison's question to you: how much does that play in the contract situation that Lavonte David lost a spot in a Pro Bowl to a guy that never played? 0 stats.
I mean, listen. It's crazy, but ultimately, like this, it happens. It's a popularity contest. It becomes a popularity contest, and then when it's time to go in to actually do a deal, well, you know, this guy's making, let's just say this guy's making 17 million or 16 million a year, okay, and I'm making 8, but production wise, it's still the same, and you know, scheme fit, you know, it may be a little bit different, but ultimately he's making that number because of the name recognition, okay, the accolades. If you have 5 or 6 Pro Bowls, you're considered an elite player in this league. You know what I mean? So when you go back and you start dealing with the teams, and you can't necessarily bring that up. Like, it's not one of those, well,
my last name is Matthews.
You know, my guy is, you know, statistically you look at X, Y, and Z, and then this guy over here, yeah, he didn't really do anything last year, but he made the Pro Bowl. So how do we get a deal done? But I think it that comes into play. Also, you know, cap wise, you know, those things come into play. How much money a team has to spend. You know, ultimately this year, I'm going to be honest with you guys, you know, with the whole COVID situation and no fans, and you know, well, limited number of fans. Some teams don't have any fans. It plays a role in terms of negotiating for this year, because ultimately the league lost a bunch of money.
Correct.
So if your cap number is supposed to be, you know, I think that next year was projected at like 210 to 215 salary cap.
It drops, right?
Now they're saying now it's dropping tremendously because of the COVID situation. Obviously, we had the TV deals that came into play and all of those things, but I guess you can say their floor right now for next year is about 175 million in terms of cap, where it was supposed to be 215.
And that's that's a massive reduction.
That's a massive reduction. So what you're going to see happening next year, guys, and be prepared for this, you're going to see a lot of players that are making money either get traded or being asked to take a pay cut. And we've been having this conversation. Yeah, we've been having this conversation all summer, because it affects negotiating when you go in to ask for this huge signing bonus, or you're asking for this amount in terms of guarantees or average per year. Those things are going to play a factor into, hey, who we're willing to pay, and you're definitely going to see it. It's coming.
So in negotiations, like if you take a pay cut, do they try to in some way in the contract deal or way you guys negotiate, hey, when it goes back up, we're willing to, bump you back up in some guaranteed money or stuff like that? Like, I know that's probably a long stretch in the dark, but like it's
very long stretch. I think that when you're asking to take a pay cut, it's more of a, do you restructure? You restructure, maybe we give you a little bit more in the signing bonus or whatever the case may be. But for those guys that, don't have, guaranteed money left on the contracts, and you're going to see a lot of those guys like on the street. I'm not going to say on the street, but not with those same clubs.
Right. Just free agents. We'll just say that. This better word. Correct. Free agents.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. Pittsburgh has like 18 of them, and there's probably 8 high priority free agents that they're going to have. So it's not good. And their cap space already, because as Blake and I talk about, if you don't have a lot of cap space, it usually means that you're a good team, because you're paying your players for their production. So if you don't have any money left, it's because you have productive players. So the teams that have money left, like Cleveland, you know what I mean? They're Cleveland. Obviously they have some great players, but there's a reason why, they have so much. Teams like the Browns have so much cap space left.
Right. I mean, you'll even see teams like the Browns. You'll see teams like I'm looking at the Falcons. Somebody that's in the conference. There's going to be a lot of movement.
And you guys represent somebody there as well, right?
Correct. Who's actually, he just got hurt, 2 weeks ago. He's on he's actually going to be a free agent this year, unless the team comes back and say, hey, we want to do X, Y, and Z. But you're going to see a lot of movement there. They don't have a lot of cap space, if any. And that's a problem as a free agent when you're looking at that, and the team has to make a decision about some of those big contracts having to be moved, but now you're asking for top dollar. So you have to get creative, and I'm one of those guys. I jump on the table in terms of contracts for my guys. Like, if the number's not right, we're not getting the deal done.
Yeah. Like Pittsburgh's in a sticky situation right now because, they have Bud Dupree playing on the tag, and he's balling.
And they have
TJ Watt.
Balling. Yeah.
And they have TJ Watt that they have to pay. I mean, he's your option. Yeah, right. 5th-year option. So technically, he's okay until 2022. But is he gonna want to be okay until 2022? I mean, he's gonna want to get paid.
Well, here's the thing about that.
They're in a tough situation.
Right. I'm sorry, not to cut you off, but they're going to have a decision to make. Okay. Bud's balling.
Right.
Watt's been balling the last couple of years. He's on a 5th-year option. Do we play him on this 5th-year option and not pay him and go ahead and take care of Bud? That's probably what they're going to have to do.
Right.
You got to remember, in the new CBA, the players can't hold out. They can't hold out. So there's going to be a big fuss about the whole thing. But ultimately, these clubs are going to have tough decisions to make if they don't really have the cap space to be able to take care of those guys. It's going to be some tough. It's going to be some tough decisions.
Yeah,
especially with the edge rushing position, that's a spot you don't want to lose next to quarterback. In my opinion, those are 2 spots you don't want to lose. If you don't have a quarterback, you need somebody to get to the quarterback. And speaking of importance, let's talk about Agency One Sports Group a little bit. You talked about. I want to toot your horn a little bit here on your agency. You didn't really say it, but I'm gonna do it for you. I said,
okay, I'm
gonna do it for you because that's the guy I am.
I appreciate that.
Because you talked about preparing guys. And you said you guys aren't about money to make money off of you. So you're basically saying you guys are really into your clients and how they are. their health of life, whether they're on the field and going off the field, leaving your agency. And from what I understand that you didn't go into, like I said, I'm going to, is that you guys offer a transition, trying to help players move on from having outlets, like if you want to go into broadcasting, and you guys do all that there at Agency One Sports Group, correct?
Correct. So you see a lot of these guys, especially, the guys who, they may have a year or two left, and you want to really find out what it is that they're interested in. But you don't wait until 1 or 2 years before it's time to hang it up. You got to really start that process in the beginning. So as an agent, when I go in and I sit down with your son, and I ask him about, obviously his football career and what he's been doing, and what he has to look forward to transitioning from college to the pros. You also have to talk about, well, what else do you like to do off the field? Some of them will tell you, like, hey, I want to go into, they may say, hey, I like video games. Well, I say, well, listen, I'm not necessarily talking about what do you like to do in your leisure time, but in terms of if you weren't playing sports, what else would you do? And some of them can't answer the question, but then you have a few of them that can definitely answer the question. So, for example, you have guys that want to get into coaching. Well, we have a coaches division. We represent 35 NCAA coaches. Okay. And
didn't know that.
We have a couple head coaches. We have a couple position coaches. We're actually getting into, management and front office people, bringing them under our umbrella as well. So you have that piece where if a guy says, hey, well, I want to get into coaches. Well, as a matter of fact, we represent these coaches, and this is how we go about getting them positions on their staffs, whether you come in as a GA, as a grad assistant, or you come in as a, quality control or position coach, an assistant, and you kind of start there. So we use those relationships that we have to get the foot in the door for those guys. Now, from a broadcasting standpoint, you have guys that are made for TV, that are made for radio. You have some guys that, intellectually they can have the types of conversations that you need to have in order to be in that role. But then you also have guys that don't have that. Correct. So for the guys that do have it, the PA offers these boot camps that go on during the off season. And it's really about tapping into those programs where guys can actually take internships and go through those boot camps to find out if they're really made for TV. So we also push that as well. We have a great relationships with the Players Association. They assist us in terms of, whether it's marketing situations, whether it's job placement, internships. That's a very good avenue to have that piece. But also what I like to kind of press on, especially with guys that are coming into the league that play at a high level, or even if they don't play at a high level, they're consistently on the 53-man roster. People love to be around those guys. Okay. And while people are around those guys, we encourage the players to develop relationships. You're going to these different cities and states, you go in there, you sit down and you set up meetings with business people, whether it's tech, whether it's banking, whether it's, hey, you're an entrepreneur and you own 20 or 30 Smoothie Kings. Tell us how you did those things. And now what you're doing is you're feeding your mind. You're saying, hey, there's more to playing football than just playing football. I have a platform. People like to talk to me because I'm an athlete and they like to be around me, but I want to learn about your business and how you got to where you were. That's where we come in and we have those meetings get set up. We have that dialogue. We have those Zoom calls. We have those conference calls. And once you're able to do those things, you're helping the guys transition without even realizing we're already starting that process. So that's what great, my team man, is all
that's
about.
Probably, that's got to be one of the most important things that you can do for your client, because football doesn't last forever, and a lot of them don't even know life outside of football. They don't even know. I bet you there's a lot of clients that you have that when you ask them what their interest is outside of football, they don't know.
And scratching the head.
What's that?
No, he's just scratching head. Man, said the same thing at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
Or they look at you with the deer in the headlights, like look. And everything you said, like I just wanted to make sure people heard that from you and what your agency represents, and that's intricate, that people know that this stuff goes on from certain agencies, that all agents aren't just sharks out here just to steal your money from you and drain you dry like a racehorse, and then just kick you to the curb when you don't win races anymore. That type of thing, that you care about your prolonged life after it. So that's the kind of thing that Agency One Sports Group represent at agency1sports.com. And this is the CEO, Ron Butler, right here. If you guys don't know who it is, the man, not no myth, but he is a legend on and off the field.
That's awesome.
Allison says it all the time. I should be like one of those spokesperson talking.
hey, listen. If I ever get into entertainment where I'm performing, I got to go do a show or something. You definitely bringing me out. You are that guy. You are definitely bringing me out.
So we just like to have fun here, Ron. And I'm glad to have you on here and give your perspective and educate us here. There's a lot of stuff I had no idea that you guys, especially the college stuff, that's just cool. You got any local? Of course, I didn't grow up in Florida, but do you have any coaches in the Gators or Florida State connections anywhere out there?
We have a couple of guys in Miami, at University of Miami. We have a couple. We actually have one at Florida State. We have a few up at Appalachian State.
Okay. My buddy's a former teammate of mine's Hall of Fame there. His name's slipping my mind. Marcus Morrell, brother used to play. Okay. Adrian Morrell used to play for the Cardinals. Marcus in the Appalachian Hall of Fame now.
That's big. Big. But no, we have guys all around the country. We even have a head coach that's actually up in Canada, who was a buddy of mine. Coming up, he was actually a mentor for me. He's now a head coach up in Canada, who's coming back to the States. And he was a Florida State alumni. He was. Say it again.
I said Mark Trustman. I was making it.
No, it wasn't Mark. Yeah. It's not Mark. It's not Mark. It's not Mark. But no, I know Mark. I know Mark pretty well. He's a good guy also. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, we definitely pride ourselves, man, and just not just overselling in terms of what we can do. Obviously, we're not a huge agency. We're not your powerhouse agency, but what we provide is more of a boutique type situation with big company access. And we're able to do, if we say, hey, we're going to deliver on X, Y, and Z, then we're going to deliver on those things. And but we definitely don't overpromise and underdeliver. So that's really what it's about. And it's also about having the right people around you. The right people that all have the same common goal, and the right people that want to make sure from a client standpoint that obviously the clients hire us to take care of their business. They don't work for us, we work for them. And we let them know that, coming out of the gate, we feel honored to be able to represent guys in this league, and we've been doing it for a number of years now. And look forward to continue to be able to do it. Finding the right guys, signing the right guys, and getting guys paid and helping them transition out. That's what it's all about.
No, definitely. If I know anybody's looking for agents, I'm definitely sending them to you guys. Now, these young guys coming up, undrafted or going to the draft, I'm definitely going to point them in your direction and give them your contact number that you gave to me, and have them reach out to you, because I think that's something special that you guys are doing here, and you're definitely working in the right direction, in my opinion, both professional and off the field as well.
I appreciate that. Definitely, man. Definitely.
So I do have one last question I do want to ask.
Okay.
So to clear the record for a lot of Buck fan, and I know Nick Citro, if you're watching this, because I know you love this guy. I know, and don't be biased, Ron. Are you gonna is Lavonte David in those categories with all the other great linebackers, of Luke Kuechly, Bobby Wagner, those guys in the same draft class, that Lavonte David has been undershadowed by for quite a long time?
Is that a question?
Is that a question? Is that a question, or are you? That's a question. Is he the real deal?
Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something, man. what this guy can do, you know, week in, week out, play at a very high level, week in and week out for the last 9 seasons. Never complains, comes to work. People respect him. His city, his community respects him for what he does on the field, but also what he does off the field for, you know, countless, you know,
No, Ron, don't go out now. Not on Lavonte. So we'll get
Probably
him back. Huh?
Can you guys still hear me?
He probably had.
Yeah, we hear you now. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Yeah, somebody called in. But listen, Lavonte David is that player that you pop in his tape, okay, and it's a teaching tape. Pop in his tape, it's a teaching tape in terms of what he does on the field. So in terms of the greats, I mean, I put him right up there in the top 3. That's, you know, that's just me as a football player. That's me as a football coach. That's me as an agent. That's me as a fan. You know, I love Bobby Wagner's game. I'm a fan of Bobby. Luke was, you know, great player. He's retired, obviously, but you know, Lavonte, what he's been able to do, you know, the first 9 years of his career, you know, is phenomenal. Phenomenal. I represent some other linebackers in the league, but Lavonte David is the guy that people are going to send you DMs and they're going to send text messages and say, hey, man, your guy is just, he is amazing. So, I mean, I think that kind of answers, you know, he kind of lets his play do the talking.
And he's a class act on top of that, on and off the field. He's a
Act.
very humble guy. As I said when we talked to Ron earlier, when I talked to Lavonte, I had a brief conversation, him and Lovie Smith both. And I know Lavonte loved Lovie Smith and was very upset when he was cut from this team. He voiced his opinion on Twitter. I won't go back into that. It was about changing coaches and all that mess. But yeah, I'm sure you've heard it. I remember exactly what he said, but he's a class act. And I just told him there's people out here that understand that you're getting snubbed in these Pro Bowls because of the way the position is changing in there. And he just basically thanked me and you know, it showed a gradual appreciation for somebody that's understanding what's going on and not just looking at you as a stat on a sheet.
Correct. I mean, that's just who he is as a man. You know, what he does in terms of the community with the big brothers, big sisters. He's a national ambassador for that organization. He has been for the last, I want to say, 6 years. He continues to do community outreach. And these aren't things that he's being asked to do. These are things that he wants to do. And yep. You know, I know once he finishes playing, you know, he'll continue doing those things because those are things that move him. And that's the one thing I will say from the beginning of me developing a relationship with him. He's always stressed, I want to work with the kids. I want to work with the kids. And you know, I love it. I love it, man. I enjoy him as a human being. I enjoy him, you know, as a player. I'm a fan. And at the same time, you know, I'm his go-to guy in terms of when it's time to get things done. So, you know, I'm honored and blessed to be in the position that I'm in.
And we're blessed to have you on here and you teaching us some ins and outs of being an agent and things, the way that these players think. You talk to us. We got a lot of good information today, everybody, that about CTE and your engagement with agents. This has been talked about a teaching clinic. You just gave us a good teaching clinic on agents and way the players think and GMs and taking care of tier 1 to tier 3 players and how all that works. We went through a whole lot today. If you send Lavonte our way, we'd love to talk to him as well. We love Lavonte here. We'd love to hear from him as well, because I know he's a busy man going on now. He got a season to win, a contract to get extended, and we'll let you handle that.
Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, I'm telling you. I'm telling you right now, Bucs Steelers.
That would be nice. First team to play in their home stadium in the Super Bowl. But Ron, we'll get you out of here. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come talk to everybody, especially me and Allison. Hope we kept you entertained as well with a few laughs. Before we get out of here, I always like to give people, when they come on here, and give 110%. we talk about money, I got to give you, because you were definitely money today. So I got to give you a couple Blake dollars right there. Rain it on you a little bit there,
Yes,
Ron.
sir.
So I appreciate it.
I'll take those. I'll take those. I'll take
Yeah,
those,
thank
man.
you so much, Ron.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me.
No, anytime, anytime you want to chat, man, you're always welcome.
Got a little delay, but I appreciate you guys having me on.
No problem. Take it easy. Ron Butler. There you go. We got class was in session today.
Yeah.
Ron Butler schooled us up.
My week is made. And it's only Sunday.
And I saw you taking notes. It was a lot. It was a lot of good information today.
Mhm.
And
Right.
I'm glad we got that in and went on the around the NFL with Allison Koehler.
Woohoo!
The USA Today Steelers Wire.
Great segment, man. And can we share our little surprise for next week for the viewers?
What you got for us?
Well, no, I mean the special. I am gonna be in Blake's neck of the woods next week. So
yeah,
but the week after. So the first
2 weeks
after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yes. In 2 weeks, I am going to be in Blake's neck of the woods, and we're going to do the show live together. Like, I'm not going to be here, and you're not going to be there. We're going to be together.
That's right. Just hopefully we don't get arrested out there for acting too wild.
Right. That might be a problem. We might not be. If we don't come on the show on whatever day, I think it's like the 1st. If we don't come on the show that day, you know why. Because Blake and I, it's Monday, November 2nd, because we got in trouble.
This Allison's definitely a troublemaker, and geez Louise, you can't take her nowhere in public.
No.
But we'll get you out of here, Allison. I know you got to see your phone going off over there, and you got to get to work just like I do next week. Next week coming up, there's always new stuff to write, new stuff to cover. I'll see you next week, Allison. Let's see who we bring on.
So much, Blake. It was. Yes. Heck yeah. Woo woo.
All right, Allison. You have a good day. It's kind of delay there. But we'll end this as we always do. I got much else to talk about, as we read and talked about everything today, especially, Allison, Ron. It was just awesome today. Plenty to talk about, plenty to write about, plenty to think about. And we'll end this as we always do. You're the master of everything. What you do with your life, what you do with it is entirely up to you. Thank you, guys. God bless. And as always, fire those cannons.
Power bill through the roof? At 320 Solar, that power bill will be no more. In fact, about 90% of our customers report lower solar payments than with electricity. That's more power in your pocket. 320 Solar. Power up. Going solar with 320 may cost you nothing down. But the work we do is not a $0 job. With a 10-year roof penetration warranty and solar panels guaranteed for 25 years, you can have peace of mind knowing we will do the job right every time without question. .320 Solar. Power up.